At this time, we're going to call the June 21st Springfield Board of Education regular meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Collins?
Here.
Mrs. Dotson?
Here.
Mr. Whelan?
Here.
Mr. Dinkins?
Here.
Mr. Hess?
Here. All present and accounted for. If you would please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we're going to have the recognition of the 2010-11 retirees. Doesn't look like there's very many of them here.
Yeah, I only see one of them here, and I saw her at lunch today also. Scary. But we will go ahead and talk about all of them, and I'll tell you who the retirees are and what they've done for the district. And this is always a nice evening, I think, to honor our retirees. They've done so much for the district, and many of them have been here for a long, long time. Our first retiree is Diane Allred. She received her Bachelor's of Science in Education in May of 1987 and worked with the Akron Public Schools through 1990 and 1991. In August of '92, she started with us at Schropp Elementary in the kindergarten classroom. In '94-95, she moved to Boyer and became part of the Boyer Kindergarten Center. And in 2007 and 2008, when Boyer closed, she moved to Young and stayed there until retiring last August of 2010. Diane, come on up. I've got your bell. It was nice to see you again. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Doing yard work. Well, I miss the kids. I really do. And I miss my friends, but I don't miss any of the busy work.
Well, thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for
great.
all your years of dedication.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
The other retirees, I don't see them here this evening, but I'll go ahead and tell you who they are. Lynn Brocker. She started at Boyer in 2000 and 2001 and worked there 6.5 hours a day. Then in 2007 and 2008, when Boyer closed, she moved to Schropp. In 2010 and 11, she moved to Roosevelt until she retired June the 1st of this year. So good luck to Lynn. Linda Cortese, she retired also June the 1st of this year. She started in 1986 and 87 as a half-time teacher at Young and stayed there through 1990-91. At the end of that year, due to economic reasons, she was non-renewed. But in 93-94, she came back to us and worked between Lakemore and Young. And in 94-95, she started at Boyer and continued working there until it closed in 2007 and 8. Beginning that year, she was at Young and remained there until her retirement. And Linda, this past year, was a kindergarten teacher at Young. Did a magnificent job for us, as all of our people do. Paula Dutton retired November the 1st of 2010, this past school year. She started in 1971-72 at Schropp and worked there through the end of 1974-75. She resigned to stay home with her family until returning to us in 1986-87 as a tutor. And then in 1987 and 88, she returned to a teaching position at Spring Hill. In 88-89, she worked at Schropp. And in 92-93 through 2000-2001, she was at Young teaching 5th grade. In 2001 and 2002, she went back to Schropp, still teaching 5th grade, remained there until her last day, which was October the 15th of 2010. Judy Howard retired. She's retiring as of July the 1st, 2011. She started in 1985-86 as a school monitor and worked as the gate monitor at the high school through 1993-94. She started in 94-95. Starting in 94-95, she moved into a teaching assistant position at the high school and moved to Roosevelt in 2005 and 2006, then DeBoyer in 2006-2007, to Spring Hill in 2007-2008, and to Roosevelt in 2008-2009, then back to the high school this past year when she retired. Maybe all that moving around made her retire, I'm not sure. During all those moves, she remained as a teaching assistant in whatever capacity was needed. Diana McDowell, she was an educational assistant. She retired last August the 23rd of 2010. She started with Springfield in August of 1984 as a sub-cafeteria employee. In 1997 as a sub-custodian, then in October of 98, she was hired as a monitor at the high school. In 99-2000, she was given the position of high school gate monitor and stayed there through the end of 2006-2007. In 2007 and 8, she started at Schropp as a 2-hour educational assistant, and in December of 07, she moved to Young to work in the cafeteria. In 2008 and 9, she moved to Roosevelt in the same cafeteria position and remained there until retiring in August of 2010. Our next retiree is Judy Newsom. She is retiring as of July the 1st, 2011. She started in 97 and 98 as a 70% art teacher and became 100% in 2001 and 2002. In 2008 and 9, she divided her time between Roosevelt and Young. Then in 2009 and 10, she moved to Spring Hill and remained there until retiring. And our final retiree is Bob Stout, longtime phys ed teacher, and you're going to see Bob has been everywhere in the district. Starting in 1975-76 at Spring Hill as a 61% phys ed teacher. He was always a phys ed teacher but moved around a lot. In 1976-77 through 77-78, he was at Lakemore. Then in 78-79, he went to Roosevelt. In 1979 and 80, he split time between Lakemore and Roosevelt. 1980 and 81 through 2000 and 2001, those 20 years, he was at Young. In 2001 and 2, he went to Schropp. In 2007 and 8, he went to Spring Hill. Then 2008 and 9 through his retirement, he was at Schropp and the high school, but most of the time he was at Schropp. He also worked as a varsity girls head basketball coach in the district, and I think had some very, very successful teams when he was the head coach. Those are our retirees, and we will make sure that all of them get their gifts. Thank you.
At this time, we have the facilities presentation by Dave Zeller and Jeff Foreman.
I think I'll let Jeff go first.
Okay. All right. All set?
Well, good evening. As I'm sure you've all been aware that we're actually out there working. First time at a board meeting, we're able to say we're doing some construction work, so that's pretty exciting. To give you a little update as to where we are, Lockhart Concrete Company, our site contractor, has put up the construction fence around the site and put up the silt fence. They've also cleared the hill down below the football field, cleared the trees out and cleared the brush and all that out. They've removed the topsoil off the band field, and they've also cleaned up the old baseball field and removing the topsoil off the baseball field as well. So they're getting the push going with the earthwork that we absolutely need to get going with here and get moving forward now that the weather is turned to be favorable. In the next week, we expect them to start peeling up the asphalt in the parking lot. That asphalt is going to be ground up, and it's going to be turned into a construction drive on the site for us to be able to move dirt from in front of the high school building on Sanitarium Road down into the areas that are low that we have to raise with earth. So they're going to be working on that in the next week as well. Shortly, they'll be starting on the sanitary line and the water lines, so utilities will be going in here shortly as well by them. Our second bid package was for abatement work. Precision Environmental has finished the abatement work that's in the newer part of the high school, the area that we're going to be tearing down this summer. So we're waiting for some final air clearances to come in this week, and we'll be ready to go with starting on the demolition work. The demolition work's going to start on the inside of the building. We've got some work to do inside before we actually start dropping the structure. But I would expect within the next couple of weeks you'll start seeing that building come down. Also outside of the band room, there's an underground storage tank that had to be removed. That was removed a few weeks ago, and we've got full clearance on that tank being removed, and everything is clean on that. We did a test excavation in the bus garage this week because we suspected an underground storage tank in the bus garage because there's a vent that comes up through the floor and up along one of the columns. So we had our contractor go in there and scrape around and move some dirt away just to do an investigation, and sure enough, we did find an underground storage tank inside the bus garage. That's not going to hold any of our demolition work up this summer. That underground storage tank is right in the middle of the garage, or in the area where we're planning on demolishing the bus garage this summer. We know the tank's there. Next year, we're going to be bidding removal of the gasoline tanks. So at that time, we'll also include removal of that underground oil tank that's in the bus garage. Good thing is we know it's there now. We can plan for it, and next year remove it at that time. Precision Environmental will be moving into the 1930s section of the high school probably later this week to get started with the abatement that needs to take place there this summer. So as of right now, everything is on schedule as we fully expected it to be.
And that actually moved into the high school today.
Good, good. So things are moving.
When they remove the tanks, do they have to get no further action letters from?
That is in process. We've already got the verbal on the no further action letter on the underground storage tank by the band room. Now it's just a matter of the paperwork working through the channels. But we have the environmental consultant, Gandy and Associates, has been in contact with Summit County Buster, and they submitted an initial report, followed it up with an action level, and Summit County reviewed that and said we were clear to go. So, okay?
Thanks, Jeff.
Sure.
Thank you.
Oh, boy.
Good evening. On the architectural side, we've been working to complete our construction documents. Our deadline was last Friday to complete the 95% set, which actually we didn't get done till yesterday. So those drawings went off to the printer. This is the set that we'll use to get our foundation approval and maybe our underground sanitary sewer approval for the building. It's also the set that we'll submit to Jeff and his folks to complete their estimate, construction estimate, and if we have to do some tweaking, that's why we call it the 95% set. So if we have to tweak anything, it gives us a little time to do that before we go out to bid, which I believe we're looking at advertising the end of July. Is that right, Jeff? So yeah, that's kind of the plan. We're pretty much on schedule with that. The other item I think you'll have before you tonight is a resolution to reapprove our architectural engineering contract. You had approved it a while back, but the Ohio School Facilities Commission wanted some things changed on that after a series of I don't know, whatever. But nothing has really changed. The fact that they wanted our fee broken down into the various phases of the project, they wanted to see that, so we provided that information. The fellow that produced that contract for us is no longer with the firm. He retired, so they wanted that changed, so you'll see my name on the contract. Of course, the governor's changed and the executive director's changed, so essentially the names have changed, the contract's the same, so that's about it.
Total compensation package is the same.
Is the same, yes. Yes, sir. Okay, Frank, I'm just going to leave this right here.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll move on to item number 6, approval of minutes. It is recommended that the board approve the minutes of the regular meeting of May 17th, 2011, and the special meeting work session of June 14th, 2011.
So, second?
Roll call, please.
Oops. Mrs. Collins,
Yes.
Mrs. Dotson,
Yes.
Mr. Whelan,
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Motion carried. At this time, we have citizens' comments on agenda items are welcome at this time. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 8, payment of bills. It is recommended that the board approve payment of bills for the month of May pending audit.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dotson,
Yes.
Mr. Whelan,
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mrs. Collins.
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 9, acceptance of financial reports. It is recommended that the board accept the financial reports from the treasurer for May 2011.
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Whelan,
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mrs. Collins.
Yes.
Mrs. Dotson.
Yes, motion carried. Item number 10, personnel. We have the retirement resignation of teacher Judith Newsom, effective July 1st, 2011. The resignation of teachers Amanda Riccardi and Carrie Salmon, both effective with the start of the 2011-12 school year. Employ the following certificated personnel to work extended school year summer 2011 at an hourly rate of $22.61 up to a maximum of 96 hours to be paid from federal funds. Leona Jones, Melanie Smithers, and Jennifer Turley is a sub. Number 4, employ Theda Milhoff as a certificated employee to work extended school year summer 2011 at an hourly rate of $8.50 up to a maximum of 96 hours to be paid from federal funds. Item number 5, approve the following to receive a $20 per hour or a maximum of $100 per day for monitoring and implementing the RTTT grant through the 2013-14 school year. This would be only for time spent outside the duty day to be paid from grant funds. Lisa Hostler, Sean Morgan, Heather Phillips, Megan Babcock, Ann Phillips, Denise Denzak, Francine Paul, Mary Meadows, Wendy Bluey, Lucy Brown, and Lucy Brown. Number 6, approve the following to receive a $20 per hour as OGT prep tutors and test facilitators for the 2011 summer OGT administration. Carrie Salmon, Melinda Weekland, Matt Graves, Blossom Frank, and Hallie Seegers. Number 7, approve the following to be paid $20 per hour not to exceed $100 a day to create and or implement staff development sessions for develop curriculum to be paid from grant funds. Rob Lane, Laura Hancock, Carrie Franks, Lisa Stout, Michelle Hanna, Dustin Boswell, Dodie Zabuka, Brett Zimmerman, Becky Berthoff, Chad Hartong, Dawn Landon, Melinda Weekland, Lisa Villers, Matt Charlob, Jen Boyer, Linda Whited, Laura Leish, Debbie Frank. Number 8, approve 10 days extended time for the 2011-2012 school year for Ann Phillips, Curriculum Director.
We also have an addendum.
And if we would move to the addendum, please. Under Personnel, number 9, the resignation of high school counselor Nancy Woods effective for the 2011-12 school year. Number 10, employee James Grubbs III as a 100% teacher per the negotiated contract pending proper licensure effective for the 2011-12 school year. Number 11, employee Todd Lovell as a 80% teacher per the negotiated contract pending proper licensure effective for the 2011-12 school year. Number 12, employee Andrea Andrasik as a 50% teacher and a 50% technology coach per the negotiated contract pending proper licensure, effective for the 2011-12 school year. And number 13, employ Lori Henry as a 100% teacher per the negotiated contract pending proper licensure, effective for the 2011-12 school year.
So moved.
Second. Go over the last four, James, Todd, Andrea, and Lori, new teachers.
James, who goes by Bo, by the way, was a special education tutor with us this past year. He's moving into the emotionally disturbed classroom. We're really excited to have him. He brings a lot of expertise into that area. Todd actually was an art teacher with Canton City. He's a Springfield High School graduate, as is his wife. So it's great to have a Springfield grad come back to us. He's also our head wrestling coach.
So he's gonna do art.
He will do art at Schrapp. There's a little bit of a shift. The art teacher from Schrapp goes to Spring Hill to replace Judy, who retired, and Todd will be the art teacher at Schrapp. We have Andrea is 50% teacher, 50% technology coach. She's replacing Amanda Riccardi. Andrea comes to us from a long-term subbing stint at Copley Fairlawn, but she also had 2 years of teaching experience at Sandusky up towards Cuyahoga County. Then Lori is replacing Carrie Salmon. Lori comes to us from Akron City, and Lori is our head girls varsity basketball coach. So it's really, really neat to get, and all four of those people are quality hires.
Great.
It's great to get great people into the system. They are energetic, they're enthusiastic, and they know how to teach. So it's wonderful to be in a position finally to be able to hire some new people into the system rather than going the other way and laying people off. So I think our teaching staffs, we hate to lose the people that have left, but our teaching staff, they're not going to suffer. These are great kids that we're hiring.
That's great. I'd like to welcome them to the district, and great job on recruiting and attracting the new talent.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call please.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Whelan?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 11, the review of new revised and replacement bylaws and policies. And if everyone has an agenda, I'm not going to read them all.
And I'd sent you several weeks ago a synopsis of all of those policies. I can go over those again. I'm sure that you read them. It's up to you as to how you want me to handle it.
I don't need you to go over them.
I don't either.
We all
Most of them are recommended by, in fact, they all are recommended by Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, we have a service, Neola,
Neola.
and most of them are due to changes in state law.
Right.
Okay.
Item number 12, sale of bricks from the high school demolition. It is recommended that the board approve the sale of bricks by the Springfield Academic Foundation from the demolition of Springfield High School.
So moved.
Second.
Just to comment on that, the Academic Foundation will be selling bricks from the demolition of the auditorium vocational area. 500 bricks are going to be set aside. They're going to put plaques on those bricks, so they're going to be souvenir items. The sale price that they're talking about is $10 a brick, and it's a moneymaker for the Academic Foundation, and that money goes right back to our kids. They have classroom grants that they give to teachers. There are books that they give to our students, and every year at graduation time, one of our graduating seniors gets a scholarship from the Academic Foundation. So it's a great money maker for them, and the proceeds go right back to our kids. And they're planning also to do another brick sale at the end of the project when the central building comes down, and they'll sell some of those bricks also.
Okay, any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Whelan?
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 13, resolution for first scope of work adjustment. It is recommended that the board approve the first scope of work adjustment resolution as it appears in Exhibit 3.
So moved.
Second.
Basically, what that says is that we're not going to demo Spring Hill, which we discussed all along. This is just the official paperwork from OSFC saying that that building's not going to be demolished.
They haven't made a decision yet on how that money can be used.
That'll happen at the end of the project.
Any other questions?
You mean as far as whether we're able to use,
That to demo Roosevelt instead.
yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
They make that decision at the end of the project. Am I correct, Jeff?
I believe that once they believe that, once that number goes all the way through, that money is remained, your portion is returned back to you to use.
Okay. And certainly, that's how we would look at using that money, more than likely.
Our portion, not the 25%.
The 75% goes back
Yes.
to the district, the 25% goes back to the state.
Okay, do we need to, we got a motion, and do we need this change order now?
We can do that after the motion. Yeah.
After the
I just-
motion?
yeah, we just need to
After
remember.
the roll call?
Or after
Okay.
the roll call.
Roll call, please?
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Whelan?
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay, now we need, is it, you want to go to the addendum? Or is that after?
I think the addendum is actually number 22.
22A. Oh,
Yeah.
22.
Okay.
So we'll wait towards the end.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Okay, that's all right. Roman numerals always throw me
looking at
a lot.
12.
I have
I
to look at the
apologize
last
for
one
that.
I read before I go to the next one. Okay, item number 14, resolution approving and authorizing an agreement for professional design services with MKC Associates Incorporated. It is recommended that the board approve a resolution approving and authorizing an agreement for professional design services with MKC Associates in exhibit, incorporated in Exhibit 4.
So moved?
Second.
Okay, any questions?
Get a quick explanation why that's necessary.
Right.
Okay, roll call, please.
You need to.
Oh, you need
Oh.
an explanation?
He needs an
That's why.
explanation.
And that's
Oh,
what
I
Dave,
thought-
what he was
I
just
thought
talking
he
about
said-
earlier.
that's what Dave talked about
Oh, okay.
earlier.
That's what, I thought you said.
Just kind of a
you
change
didn't
of
need
names.
it. I thought he said he didn't need an explanation, I'm sorry. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Whelan?
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 15. It is recommended that the board approve a resolution awarding and approving a contract for HVAC testing, adjusting and balancing professional services in connection with the district school construction building project.
So moved.
Second?
This is another part of that? No?
I will have Mr. Fullerman describe this one. This is one that's mandated by OSFC that we have to have.
Just the next step to them.
Jeff, can you describe to them what this agent does?
It's the air movers, aren't they? And
Right, what this company is going to do is they're going to come in and test, adjust, and balance the HVAC system after it's installed and before we turn the building over to the district. Many times, this service is part of the mechanical contractor scope of work, and it's hired as a subcontractor to the mechanical contractor. However, there's always concern that the validity of the testing, adjusting, and balancing reports that are turned over to the engineer are not necessarily as accurate and precise as they should be, meaning that maybe every little item that needed to be tested, adjusted, and balanced was not properly done. This way, this contract is now a professional service where the tab contractors, as we call them, testing, adjusting, and balancing, they're going to be on board before we go out with the documents for bid, Part of their scope is to review the documents and make suggestions on the testing, adjusting, and balancing on the system. And then they are going to be reporting to us and to the mechanical engineer directly when they do the testing, adjusting, and balancing of the system a couple of years from now. I think this is going to give you a much better HVAC system. It's going to get the building balanced better, quicker, faster, and eliminate a lot of the finger pointing that would occur if this service was a subcontractor to the mechanical contractor. It's a service that absolutely needs to be done on the project. It's just for the, I guess not the security is probably not the right word, but to make sure that we're getting the most efficient system that we can, we're pulling this out of the mechanical contractor scope and hiring it separately as an independent type of contract. And we want them on board now so that before we go out and bid the work, they have a chance to review the documents and have a chance to make suggestions on those documents as well.
Based on the needs of the building, how the building is, if it's not sufficient enough, as far as, is that what you're saying?
If the air level in one part of the building is too high and it's not high enough in the other area, there's dampers in the system that'll have to get adjusted, and they'll be doing a lot of that work, adjusting the dampers so the airflow through the building is pretty uniform and consistent. After it's built, correct. Before it's built, they will review the documents, make suggestions on the documents before we go out to bid, so that we have, once again, another set of eyes on especially part of the project to make sure we're going to get the best bang for our buck. And then once the system is installed, the majority of their work will take place in 2013 before we turn the building over to the owner for occupancy.
How's that different? I might be getting confused, but we hired a firm in probably the late fall or winter to do, I thought it was HVAC quality assurance.
We hired a firm to do the commissioning of the building, and a lot of their work is going to be on the building control system to check that the controls are operating properly. This service is not necessarily controls related, it's more functional related with the air movement through the building and actually getting up and doing the testing to make sure that the airflow is correct.
This seems like a great strategy to get the best quality product possible. Is this a newer concept? Is this a new way of doing things as of recent, or has this been going on for a while?
It's been getting phased in over the years. In talking with the mechanical engineer, Karpinski Engineering, Seth Perch, him and I have talked about this quite a bit, and he absolutely is in favor of going this way because in his experience he's gotten a better quality product and better tab work done by hiring it independently. I also talked to Phil Becker from Stan Engineers to get their viewpoint on it, and they said they absolutely would recommend that we go in this direction with the testing, adjusting, and balancing as well. So the two major players, if you will, who the design engineer and the commissioning agent, both recommend that we do hire this service separately.
So was all this, like years ago when I started building the schools, was it all subcontracted, like you said?
It was all part of the mechanical contractor scope.
And it grew into this type of...
And with the mechanical contractor having control of it and him hiring the agent to come in, a lot of this work happens at the end of the job. And there might be some relationships there between the mechanical contractor and the testing agent who they've hired, which could help them push those reports through quicker and get the work done quicker, but not maybe in the manner that it needs to be done. I think this is, like I said, it's going to give us a much better product at the end of the job as opposed to keeping it in the mechanical contractor scope.
This is part of the checks and balances that you were talking about, where there's contractors on site, there's people checking and rechecking so that when we're ready to do the job, it comes out to the best possible
Right.
product.
There's another set of eyes on it when it goes out to bid, and then there's a separate way to test it, an independent testing agency coming in at the end to make sure the system is operating like it should.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, with that, roll call, please.
Mr. Whelan,
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mrs. Collins,
Yes.
Mrs. Dotson.
Yes, motion carried. Item number 16, Connecting Point Contract. It is recommended that the board approve a contract with Connecting Point to provide technical assistance with computer, peripheral, and software troubleshooting, maintenance, repair, and installing beginning July 1st, 2011 through June 30th, 2012 for a maximum of 22.5 workdays.
So moved.
Second.
This is just some extra help for the technology department. We've been doing this, I think, the last 3 years. Speaking with Dustin Boswell earlier today, this is actually 50% less days than what we used 2 years ago. So our own department's getting better and better at doing our own troubleshooting.
And this is just pay as you use it?
Yep.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeling?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 17, Stark County Schools Council of Government, COG agreement. It is recommended that the board approve an agreement with the Stark County Schools Council of Government, or the COG, as in Exhibit 7.
So moved.
Second. I'd just like to say, this is just another example of what we've discussed before about how, and there was a thing that came out to all of us about how consolidation of districts was not the way to go, but an effort for districts to purchase things as a group together and share and go in as consortiums, and this is great, so.
There's
Thank
no
you.
cost to us to join this consortium at all. Stark County's had this consortium for quite a while. They've invited Summit County to join it now, hopefully to bring the prices down even more. There's no obligation on our part to use it, but it's great to have that in case we want to purchase something.
Buying power. It's
Mhm.
it's a great way to do
Absolutely.
business. Excellent.
All right, any other questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Dotson?
Yes,
Mr. Wheeling?
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
motion carried. Item number 18, set-aside waiver. It is recommended that the board approve a resolution approving a set-aside waiver as in Exhibit 8.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
What set-asides are is the state mandates that you spend a certain amount of money on instructional materials and textbooks. When you're in fiscal emergency, you don't have to do that. There's been some talk by the new governor to do away with set-asides anyways. But as long as we're in fiscal emergency, we can waive that set-aside amount. Not that we're not spending money on instructional materials, and I think most teachers in this district will tell you that they have a lot of instructional materials.
All right, roll call, please.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Dotson?
Yes,
Mr. Wheeling?
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
motion carried. Item number 19, approval of temporary appropriations resolution for fiscal year 2012. It is recommended that the board approve the temporary appropriations resolution for fiscal year 2012 as it appears in Exhibit 9.
So moved.
Second.
Right. Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dotson?
Yes,
Mr. Wheeling?
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
motion carried. Item number 20, advances related to federal grants and other funds. It is recommended that the board approve any advances related to federal grants and other funds from the general fund in case grant revenues do not arrive by 6/30/11. These advances will be reversed in July 2011 to the general fund when received. We do this annually.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wheeling?
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Dotson?
Yes, motion carried. Okay, item number 21, approval of annual cafeteria advance. It is recommended that the board approve the annual cafeteria advance from the general fund. The actual year-end amount will be noted in the July 2011 Board of Education meeting minutes.
So moved.
Is this going to be a significant amount, or
How much are we talking?
I'll have the food service report. We are in the black this year, so that amount keeps going down as we work off that balance. So it flops back and forth from June to July. So I'll explain it later.
all right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Whelan?
Yes.
Motion carried. Item number 22, it is recommended that the board approve the amended appropriations for fiscal year 2011 as in Exhibit 10.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Whelan?
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Motion carried. Now we'll go to the addendum. This will be 22A, a change order. It is recommended that the board approve a change order from Class 51 ductile iron pipe to Class 53. Total cost of this change order is $28,524.01.
So moved.
Second. What is that?
And that was an error that was made in the specs. And we knew that early on, actually, that it had been spec'd wrong when it went out to bid. And 53, Class 53 is something that is mandated by the county, I believe. Am I correct? Mhm. So it should have been spec'd as 53, and it was spec'd as 51.
If I may add, the error was caught during the bidding process, and we were not able to make that change by addendum unless it would have affected the bid date. So in consultation with the OSFC and the school district, we elected to proceed with the bid date as scheduled, with the knowledge that we were looking at a change order in the magnitude of about $30,000. So as you can see, we're under that by a little bit, so.
So basically, we're just paying to upgrade for the pipe, and that's it.
Mhm.
That's the only change, okay.
Which is mandated.
all material costs, there is no
Okay.
cost involved, it's just an upgrade of the material.
Okay, great, thank you.
We didn't want to delay the project.
That would make no sense, definitely.
I agree.
They'd go through and no labor changes, so that's perfect.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Whelan?
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Okay, and one other addendum is 22B, contract with State Auditor's Office. It is recommended that the board approve a contract with the State Auditor's Office for services required by law to exit fiscal emergency. Hallelujah.
So moved.
Second.
Motion.
Cindy.
Although I have to say, I find it rather odd that we have to contract with the state to let us out of fiscal emergency. And really, that really kind of rubs me the wrong way, having to contract with the state auditor to get out of fiscal emergency.
Mhm. Fortunately, we don't have to pay the cost, though.
Oh, we don't, but that's a good.
We do not.
Two
We
days.
do not. There's a fund that's set up at the state level for districts that are in fiscal emergency to pay for that.
That's good. I was
Yeah,
thinking.
so it
that
doesn't
we don't have
cost,
to pay for
doesn't cost us anything.
They
to have
don't
the
bill
audit
us
done.
after we come out of fiscal emergency.
Possibly,
Yeah.
possibly,
We're paying for it whether we know it or not.
that. Yeah.
pretty much.
Okay.
We're the tax.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dotson?
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Whelan?
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Motion carried. All right, at this time, we have the treasurer's report.
I do have some handouts from Chris. I'm not sure that I'm going to try to explain them to you. I meant to give you these before the meeting started, and I forgot. These are his financials. Not much has changed from last month. Things still are looking very, very good. And Bobby, I don't know where your copy is. I will get you a copy.
Okay.
Here's this copy.
Thanks. Yep.
Interesting assessment.
If you- If you look at his numbers, though, at the end of June, the important number is the ending cash balance that we talk about so often. And the ending cash balance is $3.5 million. So that's the important number that we've been talking about. And that really hasn't changed much in the last several months. Bobby, if you'll stop up at the end, I'll get you a copy.
Okay, thanks.
That's it for the treasurer's report.
Okay, business managers report.
Okay, and following up with that cafeteria advance, I did pass out the cafeteria final for the year, and we are in the black, $19,995. So the staff managers really worked hard with rising food costs, and we had some labor increases to use a lot of government commodities and still turn a profit. That advance, I think at one time was about 150,000. That's like a 5-year buildup, but the last 2 years, I think last year we're 24,000 to the good. This year we're 20, so we've knocking that advance down. So if we can keep that up a couple more years, and especially with the new high school coming, and as we close buildings and consolidate, things just run a lot more efficient. So hopefully we can get that advance out of there. But we did serve over 300,000 meals, and I put a note on there, the district currently is at 51.8% free and reduced of our enrollment. So if you look at daily numbers, 73% of our meals are free or reduced every day. So that's significant that we still can make money and feed the kids.
Good job. It's impressive, especially with the number of snow days, which I know
Yeah.
are expensive to us, and
Yeah,
it's good.
that hurt. Other items, I just want to, mention how hard the custodians and maintenance workers have been working, especially in this hot weather. They only have a little more than a week to clean at the high school. Then when the demolition starts, we're putting them to other buildings because the construction manager wants no one physically in the building when the demolition occurs, even though we don't think there's a risk of things hurting people, but just be on the safe side for the month of July and part of August. There'll be no bodies at this site. So these custodians have been just working, moving furniture. In Central, they have to move the furniture 3 times. One time to get it to the east side of the building so the asbestos workers can work in one side of the building. When they're done, they move the furniture to the west side. Asbestos workers work over there. Then they have to clean and put back the furniture. So that's just Central. High school, they cleaned out the auditorium and band rooms, moved Frank Chenoweth's AV department to a new site. It's undisclosed yet. You can't find it. But there was a lot of stuff to move, and maintenance did save a lot of valuable items out of the auditorium, speakers, projection screens, anything that could be used in other buildings or some items in the new auditorium. That's all local funds, so we can save some money there. So they've just been working really hard. Last 2 weeks of school, we did close off the front lot, so the parking in and out of the high school is off Sanitarium Road. And I want to thank the police department in helping direct traffic, but really that kind of went really smooth. If you've been here, it only took 15 minutes to clear out. So we're really happy that worked out. Any other questions?
Just also the police department with the citizen volunteer
Oh.
group for the police department did a great job, because I know when I came through to pick up my son, things moved really efficiently and quickly, and everybody adapted real well, so
Yeah.
it worked good, went real well.
So be this way for 2 more years. We are deciding probably to reverse the flow. Next year, we think it's safer for children exiting the cars by the door. If you dropped off in the morning, kids get out on the passenger side and then walk in front of traffic to get to the doors. We think it'll work just as quick going the other way and be safer for students. Some parents even suggested that, so.
That's a good idea.
Thank you for filling in as the secretary this evening.
Okay. You'll get my bill later.
I'm sure. Okay, thank you, Dan. Mr. Stoffer?
We've been very, very busy the last 2 weeks since school's been out, not only with construction, but this past week with the interview process for new hires. We still have a couple of openings, and we're continuing to interview people for those spots, and we'll have folks on the agenda at the July meeting to fill those positions. Like Jeff and Dave said, if you look around the property, you can tell construction's going on. I would encourage the board to take a drive down Seneca to the property that we purchased and take a look. It doesn't look like the same place. The stripping has been done, the trees are gone. It looks very, very different. But you can kind of picture where the softball field's going to be, and it's pretty neat. It was pretty drastic. Dan and I went down there one day last week, and I guess we stopped down a couple days later, and it was amazing to me as to how much progress that crew had made. They're working very, very hard. Other things going on, we have a color committee that has met, gosh, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, 3 times, 4, I don't know. They're working on the color of bricks on the building, the color of the roof, what the inside of the building is going to look like, and of course all of that, all of those choices will be run by the board before we make final decisions. But we actually have some people I think who are pretty good at design.
Great.
Much better than what Mr. Hess told us he was a few months ago.
Boy, it would, things would not match if I was on the color committee.
It's a lot of pressure, too.
It is.
A lot of pressure.
So we've been busy with that, and it's coming together, I think. Don't you agree, Dave?
Absolutely.
And those people on that committee are very, very excited about it.
Great.
We met for the first time this afternoon, the Artifacts and Historical Committee, to talk about how to save things out of the current high school and blend them into the new high school. And that's interesting also. And we will be taking a tour of the high school later this week to see if there's anything in there that we've missed that might be able to be incorporated into that new building. But there's some neat features as you walk around the old high school. Other things going on. As Jeff said, we're looking at demolition probably of the auditorium, natatorium, vocational areas of the high school. Somewhere around July the 1st is what we're looking. So it's really going to look different once that portion of the building comes down. It's hard to believe that's a little over a week away. I gave you Chris's handouts. The last thing is preliminary test results are in for district report card. I'm happy to say at the 10th grade level, the 10th graders at the high school passed all 5 portions of the graduation test at more than 75%. So we hit all of those indicators. We didn't hit all of them at the 11th grade level. But if you remember, that's a cumulative score, and their 10th grade scores were not very good. So they had a lot of catching up to do. What I always try to remind people, though, is the ultimate goal is for everybody to pass by the end of their senior year and graduate, and we're very, very successful at that. The high school met the graduation rate. We believe we've met the attendance rate. The elementary scores, the preliminary scores are in. We continue to want to do better, but last year we hit 13 out of the 26 indicators. This year, I believe, we're at least at 15 or 16 of the indicators, so we've shown improvement. I think we went up in 7 areas, or maybe it's more than that. I have it here somewhere. We went up in more areas than what we went down. So we showed improvement. We still need to get better. If you looked at the areas that we did not hit the 75% level, we were very, very close in many areas. We were very close in the 2 areas at the 11th grade level that we didn't meet. One of them was within a percentage point, I believe. So we're getting there, we're getting better, but we need to keep working hard. Congratulations to Mrs. Frolla's building at the high school. They took things seriously this year. As soon as the scores came out last year, I know she worked very, very hard to come up with a strategy as to how we were going to improve scores. The teachers took it seriously, and the kids took it seriously. And the initiative, I think, that they're using, the high schools that work, is working. It has given us focus as to what our goals need to be, and it's honed in on what the strategies are to meet those goals, and it's working. So congratulations, Mrs. Frolla. You and your staff and kids did a great job. And that's it. Any questions?
Any idea what our report card will be, or have they?
I don't know. I think it takes a genius to figure out the value added.
Well, value added, they don't even figure at the state level until August.
Yeah.
So we don't know the results of that literally just before the teachers come back.
Yeah.
It's right within that week. So they drop that late after they crunch all their numbers and
Yeah,
do everything they're supposed to do.
I'm certainly hoping our designation is better than continuous improvement. Even if it is not, what I will tell you is we've shown improvement.
That's good, and still operating really bare bones, and just really appreciate everybody's effort. And I just want to say, at graduation, the young lady who came back and graduated and took the test after the school year, I think a lot about success in life is persistence, and she was the personification of persistence.
It was interesting. I remember
I'm glad you brought that up.
I remember a year ago, she and her mother coming into my office, and we saw tears, and we saw tears again this year, but they were different kinds of tears. So yeah, that was heartwarming to see
Yes.
that, I thought.
Absolutely.
Very moving, very moving. Congratulations, Mrs. Frolla.
Wonderful.
You know, and I think it speaks to the family when, because of her going through, and of course, anyone who graduates has the right to do it, but we don't usually do that. I mean, that isn't a request we usually have, so put them at the end, put them in the middle, or I mean, put them at the beginning. And then I was trying to think how to ask her politically correct, you know, how, may I mention your story, or, I mean, there has to be a reason you're with this class. Before I could say anything to her, she at practice came up and she said, my mother wants you to tell everyone out there, you can't give up, you know, and she kind of
that's
told me
nice.
what
That's
to
great.
say. And I think she was very proud of herself.
Mhm.
And whereas some kids, you know, might be embarrassed by not having passed, she took that as a mark of her maturity and persistence. Thank you for, you know, allowing us to have, if you will, 2 classes graduate. It meant a lot to her.
And hers was an unfortunate case of, she had all of her credits, she had passed all of her classes. It was a matter of her not passing one portion of that Ohio graduation test. And we can sit here and debate that all night as to
Yeah.
whether we should be having those high-stake tests or not. But she was a person who got caught in that dilemma.
And unfortunately, I think, you know, too many people would give up after
I
not
agree.
passing it and seeing their class graduate. But it's just really heartwarming and great to see her to pass it and walk through graduation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Says a
I
lot
think-
for her integrity. Yeah.
I think this is a prime example of, and I'll tell my two boys, you may be better than this at your brother, but your brother is better at this than you, so don't ever discredit the other for not being as good as you at one thing. And just because of that one test does not mean that this lady will not go on to be a very, very successful person in life. It does not mean she does not have other areas or every other area of her life where she excels, or a particular area not related to that where she will excel and go on to do great things. Like I said, I'm glad Neil brought that up, because it's great to see that, and that her mother said she wanted people to hear that, because that's a great example for everybody.
I know this is, we had talked about a target date of, isn't it August 2013 to open the building? Are we still on that target? I just need to have that reaffirmed. I've been, every time I go out and, you see people and you say, what are they doing this for? What are they doing that for? I got grief about the silt fence that I didn't know was a silt fence. I didn't have any idea what that was until one of the fellows that works for Akron was telling me about, what that does and everything. So I will be waiting to approach this fella and inform him about a silt fence. And there was something else I was going to say, I don't remember. Oh, the fence out here in front of the central building. What is that?
They will be digging a borrow pit to borrow dirt from that area to fill in down towards the baseball field. So it's going to end up being a big hole there initially.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be fenced off for safety reasons.
I'm sure that I will be asked that question. I mean, that's like,
That hole's gonna remain there for a couple of years until we start cutting down the area where the current high school is at. We started doing the earthwork there in 2013. We'll take some of that dirt and then move it back into the hole. Here again, that's one of those cost saving things. We can take the dirt that we have on site, move it to where we need it. We just have to wait a little bit of time until we can harvest new dirt to put back into that hole.
right. Okay. All right, that's all I have. And, congratulations to the teachers that were here and retired. You've given a lot of, good teaching to our students here at Springfield, and for that we applaud you. I know of most of the teachers on that list. I don't know Mrs. Allred very well personally, but I've seen her name a lot and know that she's been in the district, but had a lot of, interaction with the other teachers who have retired, and it was just an excellent group of teachers, and they're going to be missed immensely, I'm sure. Does anyone have any other thing else?
Yeah, I just wanted to say also to the teachers that are retiring, I look at you and I am in awe, because you make a difference. You made the difference to a lot of students. The commitment to your teaching, the way you love the students, and your service to Springfield. There's not enough words to say that. Mrs. Allred, I've known you since my son was at Boyer, and just know what you do, and all the other retirees. We love you for it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to, real quick, and not to drag this on, but as far as the historical committee goes, we have a good mix of people that are working on this. It's Dave Hofer, Jerry Williams, Mrs. Grunder, Dustin Boswell, who's a Springfield graduate and our technology director, and he'll be really helping us incorporate tastefully the old with the new, and using technology to do that. And if anybody has any suggestions or ideas, you can talk to any of us. We can't save everything, and we can't use everybody's ideas, but the more suggestions we have, the better off we are. The main thing I want to say is that there are a couple of items that have disappeared already that are of not a large monetary value, but of a historical value. And I want everybody to understand that these items belong to this community, belong to the Board of Education. And just because the buildings will be coming down and new will be constructed does not mean that people can just come and say, well, there's a sign, I want it, or these are things that will be incorporated either in the new building or be set aside for possible use in through that. Eventually my grandparents lived through that. It's a piece of history that now is gone because somebody took it upon themselves to say, these buildings are coming down and I want that. So that that one person can have that and resell it or enjoy it for themselves when everybody could be enjoying that. And it's disheartening. I would really like to say that it is our obligation to this community to hold on to that stuff, to make sure that it's here for everybody to enjoy, and that it's our obligation to, if something like this happens, that we have to report it to the authorities because it's theft is what it is. And we can't tolerate that. So if there's something somebody wants, if they truly wanted that and they thought that it was just going to be thrown away, they would have asked. So anything in the future needs to come to Mr. Stauffer or a building principal that can talk to him or come to the board. Everything needs to be addressed through this Board of Education because everything here is property of the Board of Education, therefore property of this community. So I can't stress that enough.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, bring it back.
Yeah.
No questions
Yeah.
asked.
Absolutely,
Bring it back.
Brady. Thank you. No questions
Yeah,
asked, bring
maybe
them
someone's
back,
listening.
whatever's been gone, but from this point forward, everybody needs to understand that.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything? All right. With that, it is recommended that the meeting be adjourned at this time.
We have citizens' comments.
Oh, citizens' comments. Anyone have any comments this evening? All right, seeing none, it is recommended that the meeting be adjourned at this time.
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Whelan?
Yes.
Mr. Dinkins?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Anyone